What did you say?
Joseph Martin Waters' enthusiasm for what he does is obvious. Just look at him work on one of the songs for the newly commissioned opera, St. Francis de los Barrios.
Scoundrel, mongrel, sinner, winner, scab, champ.
The opera was inspired by a story Waters heard of why Pope Francis took his name from St. Francis of Assisi.
And he said it was because Francis was the first environmentalist, a person who thought of himself as not above the other creatures of the planet and really saw people as being part of something bigger than themselves.
City Opera also has its eye on the bigger picture. Founded in 2014, the company wants to tell stories rooted in the community of our border cities.
And that got me to thinking that it could be a very interesting subject to bring Francis into the present day. Anyway, so one thing led to another, and now we have an opera set in Tijuana among the transgender sex workers living in poverty and in danger and who are afflicted with HIV, and trying to bring that into, in some way, happening in our present time in a magical, realistic type setting.
Waters is composing the opera, and Alan Havis is the librettist providing the words. He was excited by the possibilities of a modern St. Francis.
Well, because it wasn't literally the historic St. Francis, but it was a archetype on the border or in Tijuana, and the idea that there would be a political undercurrent. It wouldn't just simply be about a religious point of view or a spiritual point of view, but they would have a body politic.
So Francis in the opera is, he's bi, and he's a cross-dresser. And we decided that he should be a countertenor, someone who could go from a man's voice way up into this woman's voice and really be between genders.
I ask, where is Christ? Where is Christ?
So Francis thinking about Christ and who was Christ and who are you and what can I do?
The opera is still a work in progress, and the tracks Waters was playing were just rough mixes. But they convey how Waters wants to challenge expectations of what opera can be.
So this is called Corner Room in Hell, and this is where Francis has been badgered by this corrupt TJ chief of police for quite a while. And at a certain point, Francis has just had it, and he rips him a new one. And so I thought the right style for this is this a tango from hell.
There's a corner room for you in hell's high tower.
As with many artists, Waters has been inspired to create art in reaction to policies coming from the new Trump administration.
I think of Donald Trump when I was writing that piece, actually. It allowed me to take out some of my anger.
Such overt politics may not please everyone, but that's fine with City Opera and its artists. In fact, part of the challenge of creating modern opera is to define a new relevance for it.
And to puncture cliches, and to actually make people a little bit uncomfortable with a social or political idea.
Which raises another challenge. Will it find an audience? City Opera hopes so.
I think that the work, even though it has some very trigger points of politics and of emotional and social pain, be it HIV or poverty, I think that the end of the narrative, it will be very, very hopeful.
The next challenge for City Opera is to find an unconventional space suited to the opera, because it likes to do site-specific projects rather than to perform within the conventional four walls of a theater. Yet another way it wants to redefine opera for a modern audience. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.